For days, I kept asking myself one question. If ordinary entrepreneurs are not paying billions, then who is? Who are the companies declaring hundreds of billions, even trillions of naira? And more importantly, why? Because no serious business spends money without a reason. So I left social media. I stopped listening to WhatsApp professors. I decided to enter the world of corporate Nigeria. And what I found changed my understanding of business forever. The first thing I discovered was this: not every company is playing the same game. Think about it. A woman selling tomatoes in Mushin and a commercial bank are both businesses, but are they carrying the same responsibility? No. One is selling tomatoes, the other is protecting the life savings of millions of Nigeria. Different responsibility, different risk, different laws, different expectations. Yet many of us expect them to operate under the same rules. That doesn't make any sense. So imagine boarding an aircraft. As the plane is preparing for takeoff, the pilot suddenly announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, we are using the safety rules as Okada riders." My brother, my sister, who will remain inside that aircraft? Nobody, because the higher the responsibility, the stricter the standards. Business work exactly the same way. The bigger the trust people place in your business, the greater the responsibility the law places on you. Now let's leave theory, let's come to real life. Think about banks. Every day millions of Nigeria deposit money, salary, school fees, business capitals, retirement savings. If one bank fails, if it is not only shareholder that suffers, family suffers, business suffers, the economy suffer. That is why regulators don't joke with banks, because banks don't only manage money, they manage trust, and trust must be protected. Now think about insurance companies. They promise people, if anything happens, we will compensate you. Imagine millions of policy holders make claims and the company has no financial strength. What happens? Chaos. That is why large insurance businesses are expected to maintain strong capital position, not because government wants to punish them, but because customers deserve protection. Now let's go even bigger. Imagine a company building a refinery, thousands of workers, billions invested in equipment, pipelines, storage tanks, power plants, international suppliers, shipping companies, banks, engineers, lawyers, thousands of families depending on one project. Do you think that kind of company will operate like someone opening a neighborhood POS shop? Of course not. The scale is completely different. There is one lesson many entrepreneurs miss. We admire billion-dollar companies, but we rarely stop to understand the way they carry. Everybody wants the title. Very few people want the responsibility. Everybody wants to be called chairman, CEO, managing director, but dealership is not measured by the title of your business card. It is measured by the weight you can carry. Yoruba people say, "Àgbà kì í wà lọ́jà, orí ọmọ tuntun wọn." An elder does not stand in the marketplace and allows the chaired head to bend under a load. In business, experience teaches us something similar. Before carrying bigger responsibilities, grow stronger shoulders. So let me ask you, if I give you the keys to manage one commercial bank tomorrow, would excitement alone be enough? No. Knowledge, systems, discipline, compliance, leadership, that is what keeps institution alive, not motivation videos. And then I discovered another truth, one that completely destroyed the myth around share capital. Many people think share capital is simply money sitting inside one bank account. Not exactly. It is much deeper than that. It is about ownership, commitment, capacity, confidence. It is a signal, a message. It tells investors, banks, customers, and regulators the level at which a company intends to operate. That doesn't automatically mean the company has mountains of cash waiting somewhere, and that is where many entrepreneurs get confused. Think of it this way: if you are planning to build one kiosk, your preparation will be different. If you are planning to build Nigeria's biggest shopping mall, Your planning will also be different, not because cement has changed, but because the assignment has changed. Never compare your chapter 1 to another company's chapter 50. You are reading different part of different stories. Now, let me bring this home. If you are a barber, don't be discouraged because a multinational company declares billions in share capital. If you are selling perfumes online, don't lose sleep because I know a company operates at another level. If you are running a POS business, don't compare yourself to a commercial bank. Different assignments, different regulations, different responsibility. The mistake is not being small. The mistake is refusing to grow while pretending to be big. And that is when I realized something powerful. The real secret was never inside the CAC form. It was hidden inside the minds of great entrepreneurs, because while everybody else was asking, how much does registration cost? Successful entrepreneurs were asking, how do I build a business that deserves to become this big? Omo, that question changed everything, because once you start chasing certificates and start chasing value, your entire business begins to change. And in the next task, I will show you the biggest mistake Nigerian entrepreneurs make, one that has nothing to do with CAC but has quietly destroyed more businesses than inflation, fuel price, or even lack of capital. That lesson might just change the way you build your businesses forever. Can I tell you something that may sound harsh? Most Nigerian businesses don't fail because of lack of money. They fail because of lack of understanding. I know that is not what we like to hear. We blame the economy, we blame the government, we blame fuel, we blame exchange rates, and yes, those things are real, but they affect businesses every day. But sometimes the biggest enemy of a business is standing inside the business, looking at the mirror. Think about it. How many people have you met who spent over 1 million naira decorating an office before making 100,000 naira in profit? Beautiful reception, luxury chairs, glass tables, air conditioner, LED logo, CEO title, everything looks successful except the business. Yoruba people say, "A kì í fi aṣọ ṣe ọba." Cloth alone doesn't make a king, and in business, branding alone doesn't build an empire. Your office can't impress visitor, only your value can impress customers. One thing I love about Nigerian market is that they humble you. Walk through Balogun market, Computer village, Onitsha main market, Aria, Kano, Mile 12. You will meet traders who don't speak grammar, who have never attended business school, who don't even know what share capital means. Yet, they have built businesses, they fed generations. Why? Because they understand something many graduates ignore. Customers don't pay for grammar, customers pay for value. Let me tell you one story. Two women started selling pepper on the same day. Same market, same supplier, same prices. 5 years later, one woman had opened 3 shops. The other one was still complaining. People said na luck, but when you look closely, it wasn't luck. The first woman remembered customers' names. She kept her word. She sold quality products. She saved money. She reinvested profit. She treated every customer like tomorrow's advertisement. That second woman was always chasing shortcuts, always looking for quick money, always blaming someone else. One built trust, the other built excuses. Guess which one became successful? Because business has a funny way of rewarding consistency, not immediately but eventually. That is why many people misunderstand success. They see the harvest, they never saw the planting. They see the mansion, they never saw the traffic crisis. They see the luxury car, they never saw the years of discipline. Imagine planting maize today, then tomorrow morning you carry cutlass to harvest it. What will people call you? Exactly. But that is how some people approach business. They invest today and expect billionaire results tomorrow. Business doesn't work like magic, it works like farming. My father used to say, anything that grows too fast deserves careful observation. Look around nature. The biggest iroko tree did not grow overnight. The river did not become deep in one rainfall. Even a baby needs time before learning to walk. So why do we expect business to ignore the law of growth. One of the greatest lie social media has ever sold us is that speed equals success. Everybody wants to blow, nobody wants to build. Everyone wants viral, nobody wants valuable. Everybody wants the spotlight. Very few people want the process. But let me tell you what the street taught me. The street doesn't reward noise, the street rewards usefulness. If you solve problem consistently, customers will find you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. Businesses does not become successful because they become popular. Many become popular because they first became useful. Now let's return to that frightening headline, 2 billion naira. You know what's funny? Many people who are afraid of that number have wasted more money trying to look successful than they would ever spend building a solid business. Think about that. Buying what customers don't care about, impressing people who will never buy from them, competing with strangers instead of competing with yesterday version of themselves. Omo, that's an expensive mistake and that is when everything finally clicked. The richest entrepreneur don't ask how can I look bigger, they ask how can I create more value, because value creates customers, customers creates revenue, revenue creates profit, profit creates growth, growth creates opportunity, and eventually the business becomes big enough to require bigger structure. Notice the order: business first, structure later, not the other way around So maybe the real question was never can registration cost 2 billion naira. Maybe the better question is what kind of business am I building into today that may one day deserve the level of structure, because every multinational was once one customer, one product, one founder, one impossible dream. And in the next task, I will show you the one principle shared by the market women, factory owners, and some of the biggest companies in Nigeria. One principle that no certificate can replace. One principle that has created more wealth than any registration document ever will. And trust me, this is where Street MBA with Kapick becomes more than business, it becomes a philosophy. Do you know, after all my research, after reading about company structures, after understanding share capital, after studying how big companies operate, one question refused to leave my mind. If all these things are important, why do some companies with billions of naira still fail? Think about that. How can a company have beautiful office, powerful directors, millions of customers and still collapse? Simple, because money can build buildings, it cannot build trust. Money can buy machines, it cannot buy integrity. Money can employ workers, it cannot employ characters. And if you don't believe me, look around. How many times have you stopped buying from a business not because they were expensive, but because they disappointed you? Exactly. Trust, that is the currency every successful business protects. Your first capital is not money. Your first capital is trust. Lose money, you can make it back. Lose trust, you may spend years trying to recover. One thing I love about Nigerian market is that they teach these lessons every day. There is always one trader everybody is looking for, not because she is the cheapest, not because she has the biggest shop, but because mama no dey cheat person. Have you noticed that customer travel past 10 other shops just to buy from one person? Why? Trust. That woman may never have heard the words customer lifetime value, but she's living it every day. She knows one satisfied customer can bring 10 more. She also knows one disappointed customer can chase 20 away. Business could call it a strategy, the street call it good name. Yorùbá people say orúkọ rere sàn ju wúrà àti fàdákà lọ. A good name is better than gold and silver. That proverb is older than all of us. Yes, many entrepreneurs still ignore it. They will spend 500,000 naira on branding but refuse to refund one customer 5,000 naira. They will pay for photo shoots, luxury signboard, beautiful website, but they will ignore customer complaints. My brother, logo no dey answer customer, character does. Let me ask you honestly, if I remove your logo today, remove your Instagram page, remove your business signboard, would customers still look for you? Or are they only buying because you are currently trending? Think about that, because trend expires, trust compounds. Now, let me tell you something I learned from barbering. One customer is never just one customer. One customer is a family, one office, one church, one mosque, one WhatsApp group, one football viewing center. One satisfied customer can become your marketing department without collecting salary. The opposite is also true. One angry customer can become your biggest advertisement. The only difference is the kind of advertisement you don't want. That is why the biggest businesses in the world obsess over customers, not because they are nice people, because they understand customers are assets. A customer who returns is more valuable than 10 customers who never comes back. Omo, that is street MBA. Don't chase customer, create experience that make customers chase you. Now let's go back to the headline. 2 billion naira. Imagine two entrepreneurs. The first one registers a massive company today, a beautiful document, beautiful certificate, everything looks official, but no customers. The second entrepreneur start with one small business name. He serves people well, keeps proper record, learns every day, improves every month. 5 years later, who do you think is more likely to build a company worthy of billions? Exactly, because registration doesn't create value. Value creates businesses that eventually require bigger registration. That is the difference. One person starts from paper, the other starts from purpose, and that is why I believe the Nigerian street is one of the greatest business classroom in the world, because every market woman, every organizer, every mechanic, every tailor, every barber teaches one lesson. Customer don't owe you success, you earn it. One interaction at a time, one promise at a time, one honest transaction at a time. Now we've uncovered the truth about behind the 2 billion headline. We've understood share capital. We've entered the world of billionaire companies. We've discovered why trust is more valuable than titles. But one final question remains, maybe the most important question in this entire documentary. If you are starting a business today, knowing everything you know now, what would you do differently? That answer is where this documentary stops being information and becomes transformation, because the final act is not about CAC, it's not about billionaires, it's about you, your business, your future, and the legacy you are about to build. Let's finish this journey in part 3.